discussing about collect requirement techniques, right? And we did the, what we did the requirement gathering. So requirement can be gathered when they are available. Okay. Requirement can be gathered when they are available. When they are not available. So yesterday I gave you a thing called observation or work shadowing, if you guys remember the word, right? If you cannot express them, so what you call them? Come sit on my place and do the work, so you will understand what I'm trying to say. So this thing is called as requirement elicitations. Always remember in your life, when you have available requirements, you will gather them. When you don't have available, then you will elicitate them. And just to support my argument, I have collected a picture, so it can be more visuals. So challenges of requirements, like as an analyst, I need to know what do you want. Now the person will say, I want you to design the software for me. What type of software? I don't know. Point finished. User says, I need something, but I don't know what I need. Well, I can design the software to do anything, but can you design the software to tell you my requirement? All are confused. Means they know they want something, but they are unable to express it. And it's not their fault that they are unable to express it. It's simple thing that it happens in the life. So once it's happened, so in Agile, I'm saying, okay, we do elicitation in predictive also with the help of prototypes. But in Agile, it's a bit different with more additions. So elicitations are done. What you have to remember, elicitations are done when requirements are not available and you have to elicitate them. Why you have to elicitate them? Because we have to guide them. Otherwise, what happens or what occurs, we call this thing gulf of evaluation in Agile. What is gulf of evaluation? Like if you hear from me that I want to make a software or you are explaining me something, so this type of situation will happen. That what customer was explaining it, how you understood as a project manager, how engineers understood you, how technicians built it, and how the customer really wanted it. This thing is called as gulf of evaluation, where what you asked them to do, it didn't happen, and it's a totally different thing you have made. The end result is what? What is the end result? End result is money loss, right? Plus dissatisfaction from the product. Will it happen or no? Will you be happy with the product?
No.
No, right? He charged you $1,000 for this thing, and now you have to pay because you had no other options. So to remove the gulf of evaluation, we use something called wireframing. And wireframings are of two types, low fidelity or high fidelity. Once we collect the requirement, we make something like this. This is called as low fidelity wireframe. What we call it, low fidelity wireframe. This one is called as high fidelity. Low fidelity you can make with the pen and paper. Pen or paper, pencil or paper. High fidelity you can make it on computer or maybe in a software, that you can make the interface in a software and add the functionality upon it. You will not discard it. You can discard this, but you can improve it better. So what's the difference between low fidelity and high fidelity? Low fidelity, you can discard it. For sure, you will not discard it. It's like you can keep it. But high fidelity, you can continue making it. So it will become the prototype. So with the help of wireframing, what we do, we verify the requirements, which comes with the result of elicitations. My point is good. Is it understandable?
Yeah, yes, clear.
Perfect. So once we collect the requirement in Agile, in the predictive one, what we made the WBS, right? What we made yesterday, we made a WBS. And how many levels I draw in front of you for WBS? Come on, give me the things.
Three levels.
Level 1, level 2, level 3. Level 1 was the
name of the project.
Name of the project. Level 2 was
Control account.
Control account. And level 3 was
Work package.
Very good. Work package. In Agile, we have a different story. We make a theme, sometimes, not all the time. And inside theme, we have Apex. And Apex contains user stories. In predictive, we call them requirements. The requirements you collected by questionnaire, by surveys, by prototype, by facilitation, by focus group, by brainstorming. In Agile, requirements are called as user stories. So if you look at it, name is decomposed into control account, right? And control account is decomposed into work package. Yes or no? Bigger to smaller. If you will not participate, how will I teach you that? There was a project name at L1. It was decomposed into control accounts. And then control account was further decomposed into work package. This is clear?
Yes. Sure.
Clear.
Here what is happening? Theme is decomposed into Apex. Apex is decomposed into user stories. And user stories is decomposed into tasks. Perfect. So it could be like this. Theme could be a mega feature of a product. Okay. Mega feature. And in that mega feature, you can have multiple Apex. And inside Apex, we have user stories. Let's go further what they look like. So what we do, we make storyboarding. What is storyboarding? The same thing, wireframing. What we did, a prototyping method using visuals or images to illustrate a process or represent a project outcome. So how we do this? We do this with the help of wireframing. And wireframing could be low fidelity or high fidelity or extended into prototype. So what are the features? Features are the set of requirement that allows the user to satisfy a business objective or need. But to make this feature, you need to make multiple processes or multiple activities. So features will decompose into Apex. What is Apex? It's a large collection of user stories. And as we said, we can have multiple Apex, right? We have seen in the previous one, we can have multiple Apex. So for example, you can have one Apex for quality, one Apex for automation, one Apex for mobile devices, something like this. So these are what Apex. And inside Apex, we contains multiple user stories. Why we call them user stories? Because a person says, I need this, so I can do that. So as a person, I want to do this, so I can do this. Right? If you need something, and if you go to a shop for shopping and you cannot explain, or you cannot find yourself, so you express it, right? That I need something, so I can do something. So ultimately, a person will guide you that what products they have in their shops or in their stores. So that is the same thing. We call it user story, that you should be able to express. With the user stories, we create the persona of the person. What is persona? Persona is like we make a character for the person to express themselves, that this guy is this age, he likes technology or she likes technology, or they don't like devices. So when you make some requirements, so that's what we call it. Yesterday I was saying, put yourself in my shoes, then you will understand what is the problem with me. So once you will presume this guy while making the things, then you will understand what actually they need. You will not just like question and answers. No, you have to presume. And to support your thing in user story, this thing is called as a story card. A story card contains persona of the user, then his requirements, his attributes also, and multiple things like definition of done or definition of it, which is coming later on. I don't want to start now again and again. So normally the user stories are what? Short phrases that I want to do this, I want to deliver something. And Apex is a bigger version of it, like this. As I said, we will create a persona, we'll create their designs, and ultimately the story will be waiting. So it's just a short description. I want to do this. And these are the templates for user story. So you can visualize it. As a this, I want to do this task so that I can do this. If you remember yesterday what we said, when you collect the requirement, you will always collect the acceptance criteria of the requirement. I said this yesterday, right? And we will mention this thing in the requirement traceability metrics. You remember this line I said yesterday? Ya Allah. Yes or no?
Yes.
You're saying yes, like yes, or you know that yes?
Yes, sir, we remember.
What about others? Bilal remembers. What about others? Mr. Irfan, what happened?
Nothing, just making some notes what you are telling
Here,
to you.
don't make the notes. You remember
Yeah.
this document now?
Yeah.
And here we said that we will write a requirement and we will write down the test cases that in which conditions it will approve. So acceptance criteria. Every requirement must have the acceptance criteria. Similarly, in the Agile, every user story must have the acceptance criteria. Without acceptance criteria, we will not add them in the list. Because adding something which has no value, you will add your work, nothing else. So that is what we call it, that for every user story, we will have what? Acceptance criteria, that I will verify it or validate it if I am able to do so. So it could be related to payment, it could be related to reports, it could be, you can customize your design. What you have to focus that it should be like this. As a user, I want to do this, and these are my acceptance criteria. These columns can be added, and here you can add the persona of the person, like the cartoon characters, the fictional characters, just to understand what the person looks about or look alike. So these are the templates for user stories. So what is the benefit of user story? We try to understand it. So if you remember what I said, epics into user story, epics into user story into task.
Task.
So look, epic means there's a big requirement. And for this requirement, we can have multiple user stories. So one epic can be released in one iteration, or it can be released in after multiple iterations. It is also possible. It can be released in one iteration, or it can be released in multiple iterations based upon the size of the story. The efforts in Agile, we don't write the time and cost like this. We write efforts. What efforts? Efforts means efforts include complexity, efforts to perform the work. This is called as story points. What are the story points? They are the efforts you will spend to complete a particular feature. Just a minute. Okay. So user story, to perform a user story, we need what? Story points. Who remembers from yesterday that with WBS, there is a document called where we write all those things, how many resources we need, time, cost, everything. What we call that document?
WBS dictionary.
Thank you very much. Alhamdulillah, you guys remember it. So user story will have the story points. So ultimately, for each story, there will be the story points, and I will discuss with you in scheduling when we will do estimations, how to calculate story points. So in predictive, we have what? WBS. In adaptive, we have what? Product backlog. In predictive, we have what? WBS. In agile or adaptive, we have WBS. What is WBS? What is the definition or what is the word for WBS?
WBS is called work breakdown structure.
What is it? It contains the work that needs to be completed.
Work packages.
No, it contains the work that needs to be completed,
Yes, sir.
right? Similarly, product backlog is also the same thing. It contains the work that needs to be completed to complete the project. So teams will take the work from product backlog. Like in predictive, team takes the work from WBS. So there are some small definitions, and these are important ones, okay? There's nothing like you can escape it or something. Definition of done is related with acceptance criteria. It's like a checklist that you have done this feature, this feature, this feature, this done. So when definition of done finished, it means you meet the acceptance criteria. So you can say definition of done is like a checklist, and acceptance criteria, which means all the options or the required options in the checklist. This is called as definition of done. Definition of ready means you have enough information. You have required information to start the work. Let me explain it again. You have enough information that you can bring this thing into the product backlog. You have enough information that this story can come in the product backlog and team can start working on it. So team will only work on the stories which have definition of ready. If definition of ready is not defined, team will not touch that user story. So definition of ready, you have enough, you will find the word enough or sufficient information to start the work. Definition of done is the checklist, and acceptance criteria are the conditions mentioned in the checklist, so you can verify it. These three definitions, you must remember it. In Agile, they will check you a lot. Nowadays 70% exam is Agile, so make sure these terms you remember it. And as I made it as easy as possible, so you can remember it easily also. So we make the whole WBS. So whether it's predictive, whether it's iterative, we make the product roadmap. What is product roadmap? What I was telling you yesterday, that how your product will be delivered, like a milestone list, that I will give you this feature after 1 month, this feature after 2 months, this feature after 3 months. And to perform this, how many iterations you need to perform. This is called as product roadmap or feature roadmap. Then we have what? Incremental delivery. In Agile, we don't do the work in full. Instead, what we do, we deliver the work incrementally. Like you release option 1, then you release option 2, then option 3, then option 4, then option 5. So you are delivering incrementally, right? That's what we said yesterday. Incremental is like this. You release a smaller one, you collected the feedback, then enhance, then bigger, then bigger, then bigger, then bigger, then bigger. And you keep doing it until you meet the objectives.